review now with Tom Tugendhat.
Prime Minister, who does the Sino-British Joint Declaration protect?
It protects, thank you, Tom, it protects above all, it protects the right of the rights and the freedoms of the people of Hong Kong.
So it protects some British nationals overseas as well?
It does, yeah.
And has China broken the Sino-British Joint Declaration?
As you will have heard the Foreign Secretary say in the House, alas, we believe that the security measures that have been brought in by Beijing do sadly amount to a breach of the letter and of course of the spirit of the Sino-British Declaration.
The breach of the treaty puts at risk the freedoms of British nationals. Correct?
We think so. Not only that, but you're starting to, I'm afraid, to see that already, and you're starting to see a chilling of free speech. You're starting to see people. You're starting to see the effect of that security rule, the Chinese legislation already starting to bite on the people of Hong Kong.
So, forgive me, just to be clear, international law does protect British nationals.
And
so simple yes, no.
It does.
Thank you. Do you agree that the persecution of Uyghur Muslims amounts to genocide?
I certainly think that what's happening in Xinjiang is objectionable, and the UK government has continued to protest and taken a leading role in holding China to account. But on the specific term genocide, that is an important term in international law. With great respect to the committee, I would have to get back. I don't believe that we're at the position of so far of characterising.
The eminent human rights lawyer Ben Emerson uses the word genocide, and other members of the United Nations Human Rights Council have done so.
It's not, as far as I know, something that the UK government has so far endorsed.
It'd be great to have clarity on that. But in the light of the abuses that you've listed, both to British nationals and to minority communities within China, will you allow ministers to attend the Winter Olympics in Beijing 2022, and will you ask members of the royal family to boycott the event?
Well, we will review that matter as and when we need to make a decision. But generally speaking, I think it's important to, if you can, to protect international sporting events and indeed members of the royal family from political ramifications.
You were very clear about 18 months before the Russian World Cup, when you were Foreign Secretary and came before the committee that I'm privileged to chair, that you would not encourage ministers or members of the royal family to go to Moscow. Why will you not do the same for Beijing?
I didn't say that. All I'm saying is that that's not something we've taken a decision on yet.
Okay. You certainly wouldn't suggest, I'm sure, that British nationals overseas or Uyghur Muslims have fewer rights or less appropriate for boycott than Russian citizens in the United Kingdom.
No, but what I'm saying, Mr. Tugendhat, you're asking us to take a decision some way out. We haven't yet reached that decision.
Okay. And what representations have you personally made to China's communist leaders about the persecution of both Uyghur Muslims and British nationals?
Well, I've raised many times, both in my position as Foreign Secretary and indeed before, human rights in China and the issues of Tibet, Falun Gong, and all kinds of issues where we in the UK wish to be very clear with our Chinese friends that we do not, Hong Kong being the most recent and the most notable. And on Hong Kong, I think that the UK can be very proud of what we did in deciding that the BNOs and their dependents should be able to come to this country, and I think that was the right thing to do.
And as part of Britain's support for the international rules-based system, would you agree with your friend and indeed mine, Minister Konotaro, former Minister of Foreign Affairs of Japan and former Defence Minister? Surname first, if he's Japanese, presumably, so Konotaro, but yes. Would you agree with him that Japan should be looking to be the sixth member of the Five Eyes community?
Well, look, I mean, well, I think there's certainly a big opportunity here, Tom, for the UK to bring together like-minded democracies. The Five Eyes is a particular group, has a particular coherence. It's not something that our Japanese friends have yet raised with me. It's an idea that we're thinking about, but we have a fantastic relationship with Japan, a very close defence and security partnership, as you know, and that might indeed be a very productive way to build on it. But we'd have to work with other Five Eyes members.
May I just ask? You've been very forward in pushing for a global vaccine alliance. Will you organise a G7 COVID conference as soon as possible after the US elections to bring in any new or existing administration into a vaccine alliance?
Yes, as you know, we had the Gavi summit raised about $9 billion for global vaccines, particularly for COVID. And one of the things the UK is going to do with the G7 is to try to bring the world back together after COVID, because it has been a disaster for the fights at airports over PPE, the borders that have sprung up around the world, the sequestering of stocks of drugs, you've seen a return to nationalism, nationalist priorities in a way that I think has been very depressing for those who believe in globalism and believe in internationalism. And we certainly want to use our G7 presidency. Organisations like the WHO, I profoundly think that they are of huge value to the world. And in free trade, which we've talked about earlier, on health matters, and in the fight against climate change.
May I move on? May I make one last question, if I may? In that case, you'll agree, of course, that tariffs are a tax on the British people. But let's just move on. Very last point, and say what advice. I certainly agree with that. I thought you would. What advice did you get from the Foreign Office, and most particularly from Dame Karen Pierce, our ambassador in Washington, on the impact of your latest statement, the Secretary of State for Northern Ireland's statement, would be on the Anglo-US relations now and under a possible new Biden administration? Did you get any Foreign Office advice?
If I did, I wouldn't tell you, because it wouldn't be right, Tom, to talk about the advice that good civil servants give to ministers. But since I'm not aware of such advice,
it would be odd.
I can tell you that I'm not aware of.
But it would be odd. Would it not be odd if the Foreign Office had not given advice on the change in an international treaty?
No, I'm not aware of any such advice. But if I were aware of it, I wouldn't tell you.
Thank you, Prime Minister.
Will that do?
Moving on.